Hi, everybody. Let's walk through how to set up presentation slides for your new entrepreneurship pitch deck. All right. And so, what we're going to do is we're actually going to look through Canva Slides. And we're grateful to Mr. Joel Gonzalez for allowing me to use something that he produced when he was a freshman biology major. And so, Joel's a really great guy. He's now advancing and becoming a scientist. He lives in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, New York City, and he hails from the Dominican Republic. And Joel asked me to tell you all if he can do it, so can you. So get cracking. All right, what we're looking at is his cover slide. And when we go through all of his 13 slides, we'll fully understand what we're looking at right here. So the first thing Joel said is, um, I need to be able to convey the problem and where people will get it just by looking at my visuals. They'll get it in a few seconds, and that way they won't be so distracted. They'll still be able to hear what I'm saying, kind of look at me and look at the slide, listen to what I'm saying. They'll get it because I'm probably going to have like 2 to 3 minutes to do the whole presentation. So that's what he did, and he accomplished that very well. He doesn't have a lot of busy imagery. He doesn't have paragraphs up here, and he clearly shows the problem that a lot of people spend thousands of dollars on electronic bicycles, and when they leave that bike right here and they walk inside that building for a few hours, when they come out, they want to make sure that bike is right there. Or if they're riding that bike and somebody like the FBI says, "Hey, FBI, I need your bike," and tosses you out the way and take your bike, when the bike is gone, do you have a way of retrieving it? Joe said a lot of people have that concern. If somebody takes my bike while I'm riding it or while I have it secured while I'm inside the building, I come out, can I still get my bike back? So the next thing he had to do was figure out, okay, let me look at all of the group of people that I'm going to go after in my market. And so he segmented them by different attributes based on demographic attributes, the ones that matter to the business, demographics such as age, marital status, income, education, things like that. So he looked at a lot of different demographic and he pulled out the ones that mattered to him. He also looked at geographic, where people live, where they work, where they spend most of their time. And so he looked at that. So he said, okay, I'm interested in these ones and not the other ones. So he kept putting people into two different categories, ones that I'm interested, ones I'm not. Then he looked at behavioral. Some people do this as it relates to bike and bike security, and some people do this. So the ones who do that, he's like, that's not really the ones I'm going after. So I'm going after that. And then he looked at psychographic. Some people have these type of thinking and they think this particular way, and others think a different way. And so after a while, he segmented them. He says, this is my market. It consists of 2 million e-bike and e-scooter owners. And remember, some of them come from different states. So it's not only just people who live in New York City. He looked at people who are in New York City, such as people from Jersey, Connecticut, wherever. And so he said it's 2 million of them. And then he said they represent $9.5 million a year in potential sales to any firms that address that problem. Next thing he did was he said, I need to look at the industry. The industry is a group of firms that sell to the people in that type of market. And so you all, when you do your industry analysis, you want to identify who are the major players in your industry. And then also, what are the major challenges? So the major players, it might be that 2 or 3 firms represent 85% of the market share, or one firm owns 65% of the market share, and then there's another dozen or so that own an additional 25%, and the rest is up for grabs for anybody. Major challenges. So the industry, that's where you want to find out the group of firms that are addressing that market right now. They're doing good in these areas, but as of today, they have yet to address this, and the market of customers are really upset about that, and they're just waiting on an alternative. All right, so that's the industry analysis part that you want to convey. Now, for the value proposition says that an entrepreneur or business is offering something, but they expect something in return. Joel, if you look at his first one, he's not emphasizing features such as tangible locks. Instead, he's emphasizing benefit. And he said, hey, I'm offering you peace of mind in exchange for dollars. So that's what he's emphasizing in value proposition number one. His second value proposition to advertisers, he's offering them access to e-bike riders in New York City in exchange for cash. So that's his value proposition. He segmented his customers down into 3 groups. On the far right, you see advertisers, which he gives them something and he collects revenue from ad space. And then delivery riders and commuters, exercise and leisure riders, he collects revenues from software apps and from tangible loss. So that's his customer segmentation. He also looked at Steve Blank's business model Canvas and Lean Launchpad methodology. You definitely want to Google that and understand it, because a lot of cocky and new and inexperienced entrepreneurs, they be like, no, this is not an assumption. I don't need to ask my people in my market what they think and what they need. I know what they think and what they need. I'm going to build a business. I'm going to bring it to the market. Like, hey, y'all need this. Come over here and buy this thing. Joel said, no, I'm going to question my assumptions. Joel said, that is an assumption. The other person said, no, that's a fact. Joel said, no, it's an assumption. So he wrote down what his assumption was. Then he went out and talked to people. And then he wrote down in the second portion down here what he learned from testing his assumption using customer validation, customer discovery. And so those are processes that you got to learn a little bit about. And he wrote it down. And then the third section, he wrote, you know what? Based on what I learned, this is how I need to change. This was my assumption, but I learned a thing or two. And now I need to do this reaction so that I can bring a really nice business to the market. And now I know who my customer is. Now, in order for a business to succeed, it has to have an advantage, a long-term, sustainable advantage over the competition. If it doesn't, that business could be like working, even though it's working those 4 or 5 years and it's about to turn a profit, and then put in all of that effort, and then a new entrant comes in, outcompetes you, and you just got to go away. So you didn't even get to make it to year 5 or year 6 or year 7 when you were about to turn a major profit, because you didn't have a competitive advantage that was sustainable. So if you click on that link down there, you're going to see 12 different sources of sustainable competitive advantages. And then you really want to go through and then put the ones that you have, and yours is probably going to be 1 or 2. And so look at those, go through those 12, and then put 1 or 2 that are yours, that is a source of your sustainable competitive advantage over here. And you probably want to make sure you at least have some sort of STEM base. Think of what Airbnb and Uber did. What Airbnb and Uber didn't really, let's say what they did. What they did is, in my neighborhood, they came in and they connected riders, people who have a car and have extra time and space, to people who need a ride. I could have done that with pencil and paper. So I could have run a business and did the same thing that Uber did with a low technology base, but it would not have given me the competitive advantage that Uber the company did. They used technology and came up with a really nice platform. Airbnb, they did the same thing. They connected property owners with people who needed a space temporarily. Again, I could have done it with pencil and paper or an Excel spreadsheet or a Google form, but instead they built a real nice technology-based platform. And even though other companies have entered into their industry, none of them can outcompete. So both of them own the sustainable competitive advantage among their industries. The other thing is price point and pricing strategy. You 100% want to Google pricing strategies. There's a number of them, and then you want to pick which one is yours. You don't want to arbitrarily pick a price. So a price point is the infinite prices that you could pick. But if you pick the wrong price, say that your price is too high, and then the market be like, whatever, ain't no way in the world I'm spending that much money just for some vegetables. Or say your price is too low, and the market really expects and will only buy from you if they think that you have a higher quality, but your price is too low, and based on price quality attributes, they'll be like, I'm not buying those cheap vegetables. So you want to make sure that your price is in harmony with the market and their perceptions. So selecting a price point and a pricing strategy is very important. It has to be intentional. It cannot be arbitrary. So you want to show that you have done your due diligence in that regard. Then you want to put down your marketing channels. Your distribution channels. How are you going to distribute your goods and services into customers' hands? So here's one way that he did. Here's another way, and there's a third way. Over here, this shows marketing expenditures. So how much money do you need to reach all of those people in that market? And Joel said only 1,700, so his faith is pretty good. And so these are the venues that he's going to use. This is the amount that he's going to use, and then that's only for his year 1. There's year 2, he's probably going to, it's going to be times 1,000%, and it's going to jump right on up there so that he can maintain that 5% that he's actually going to get. All right, so over here, income statement, projected, pro forma. That means that future from today over the next number of years. And again, lots of times you do lucky to turn a profit in year 5. But in Joel's case, his faith is big. So by year 2, he turns a profit. And so these are the sales revenue, the dollars that he collects from sales. Over here is all of the expenses that he has to spend on insurance, rent, salaries, taxes, meals, travel, transportation. So he adds up all of those. And by year 3, he's going to spend $350K, but his sales are $475K. Therefore, he's operating in the black. So he has a profit of $125,000. Now, how much of that revenue generates profit? Well, to find out that, you put the profit divided by this number, and what you get is 26% return on sales. So his profit, the return on sales is 26%. And then over here for return on assets, assets are all of the things the business uses to generate revenues and profit. So all of the different things, whether it's computers, automobiles, uniforms, inventory. There are a lot of things that the business uses to generate those sales and profit. And so that's the assets. Now, let's just say that the assets were $1,000. And let's say that out of the $1,000 worth of assets, let's say 75%, which is $750, was purchased in debt using credit. So therefore, the liabilities for the $1,000 is $750, and then the remaining is what the business owns, because it's not purchased in debt. So the business used their own cash, so their own money to buy that. So $250 would be here, $750 here, and $1,000. And according to accounting, there's a thing called the accounting equation, where assets must equal the sum of liability plus owner equity. Total liabilities plus total owner equity, and so they must equal. All right, now this 5% share, he says by year 3 he anticipates this 475 is 5% of the $9.5 million for the total market. So by year 3 he anticipates getting 5% of that. Over here, this is where you want to put down you as the founder and any other co-founders that you have. Generally, one person is not enough. So generally at the top level, you need like 2, 3, 4, 5 people. All right. That's not to be confused with the employees that you hire, or some work that you might even get an independent contractor to do. You contract out. That's not the same. So you may have an accountant and a lawyer that you hire, but they're not a co-founder. Or you may have an accountant and lawyer who's like, hey, let's the 3 of us run this particular type of business, all right? So that's the co-founder. So you want to put down certain attributes about you, certain things that make you the best person to run this business, such as it could be your educational credentials, it could be some of your business certificates that you've earned, it could be certain key social network contacts that you have. So whatever it is about you, you want to condense that down into 1 or 2 bullets that are really easy to read real quickly. And then whoever else you still need to recruit, or you may have 2 of these people already. So I have Sarah, who's a finance expert. I have Jessica, who's a programming expert. And I have Dan, who's my creative designer. Or I have Sarah, Jessica, and we're trying to recruit a creative designer. All right, so look up hipster, hacker, and hustler, and then find out who you need. So the hipster is the person that puts a cool effect on all things imagery, visuals, and then the hacker is the one who builds the technology, the platform, the engineering, and then the hustler is the one who gets out there and kicks down doors, breaks barriers to get your products in all the right places for your business to really thrive. And then over here, this is the last one. This is slide 13. That's the big billboard slide. So that's the slide that you could take and you could place inside an online magazine. You could put it on inside of a metro bus, the outside. You could put it inside of a metro subway train. And so this is the big billboard imagery slide right there. You could even put that on flyers. And then inside of here on your Canva slide, you want to click that right there. And then you should see a short 10 to 12 second video that you create. And that's going to be a video commercial. All right. So that's basically it. So I hope that's really helpful, and I hope you'll have a lot of fun doing that. And remember, this is just one of many, many ways for you to do your slides. If you're going to do a pitch competition, make sure you find out, are there any rules? If you're going to pitch to an investor, then you would need to modify it. So you need to find out, how do I need to really modify this a little bit. But this is a general way for a lot of different people, for a lot of different types of audiences, especially competition for like schools and so forth. Okay, everybody, good luck. Thank y'all very much.